I would just like to, as the President of BPW Newcastle and on behalf of our committee, welcome you all to Newcastle and to today's event. Now we've got a number of other BPW groups here. BPW Coffs Harbour, BPW Strathfield, and we've got BPW Sydney, got BPW Central Coast.
What's our purpose? 40% female, 40% male, 20% of either and or any other gender. We always call it a network of reciprocity. The woman you are, the woman you were, the woman whom you will become. It's not easier to chair a diverse board, but in the end you get better outcomes for the organisation. So when you get women on board, you get differences in age, you get differences in regionality, you are more likely to get differences in ethnicity.
I'm Australia's National President. I wish I was with you today, but unfortunately I'm speaking to you from central Melbourne today. I wanted to share with a little bit about my journey and why I thought BPW was an important organisation and was a place in the world for BPW. When I started my career, I was lucky. I'm part of that generation of women who had nothing in our way. We were able to go to university. There was no bar to women studying. There was theoretically no bar to any profession that we wanted to go to. I grew up in New Zealand. Vote. We could get the jobs. We could be engineers. We could be analytical chemists, as I was. But we still had to break down some of the barriers around the chaps around us. The reason it's called a glass ceiling is you don't see it until you hit it. And most of us hit it from about the age of 35 to the age of 45. And that's when we see women wanting to join organisations like BPW so that we can share with women of similar experiences, but learn from the multi-generational nature of the organisation.
Certainly empathise with our Victorian cousins who once again face that challenge, but it's been just wonderful to have you pop into the...
So BPW has been around for a very long time, 1930s. I said, very fortunately in Newcastle to have had one of the international presidents. In fact, Australia has more international presidents than any other country. So we're in more than 100 countries across 5 different regions. I have had the great fortune of being able to visit many of our countries. My job, my role was to increase our participation in new countries. So this is the structure of BPW International. In 1947, BPW International was one of the first international women's organisations to gain consultative status at the United Nations. That means we have a voice at the United Nations, which is amazing. This is our new international board. They're only just a month old. Now, if you're travelling, remember that we're in more than 100 countries. Perhaps next time somebody asks you about BPW International, you can say that it develops the professional and leadership potential of women on all levels through our mentoring, networking, skill building, economic empowerment programs and projects around the world. BPW allows ordinary women to accomplish extraordinary things. Thank you.
It's very important to understand what's on the minds of our members, what's topical, what's the narrative that we should be talking to in terms of our advocacy for our members and issues affecting women across Australia. And to those of you who may have had the time to complete our survey, we've been able to use those outcomes to get recommendations in a paper via ES4W. The future of work, it's the importance of policy settings of what does the future of workforce participation look like now, and also valuing the occupations for the future of work. So the saying of our leader, Jacqueline Graham, valuing whether you're pushing the wheelbarrow or pushing the wheelchair. Income that you would earn in female-dominated industries is greatly varied to, say, income that you would earn if you were perhaps in the construction or mining industry. also the importance of really changing the framing of what does a traditional working hours look like and what are the opportunities with remote and hybrid working scenarios in the workplace. We're also in discussions around superannuation, again linking into women's economic security. We had a great win with the federal budget on the low income threshold, superannuation guarantee now being included. We want to continue to push for what else we can be doing to be able to give women the greater opportunity to land on a balance of superannuation that gives them a comfortable life in retirement. The education piece of putting aside more money in your younger years. That's on super. We also have been advocating for childcare, economic security for women, National Women's Alliance. And so our member base, it may not be as large as others, but when we are able to partner with a larger organisation, as ES4W does, to bring in all the other women's organisations, we have a greater voice. BPW has a presence at executive level, but we are of course also members. So they have a direct in to the Office of Women. So the ability to go to Canberra and to set up meetings, that way of joining into that alliance, who have that in with government to be able to speak to them. So we're going back in June with ES4W, and they've already set up a meeting with the Office of Women. So
that's really, really important for us as an organisation, or something that we feel really passionate about, to get that information through to the channels for the people to be able to be putting our opinion forward, particularly because we're an organisation of employers and employees. The impacts of what it will be on both sides is really, really important in ES4.
One of the things that I always say in Coffs Harbour is that, did you realise that BPW is the reason that Coffs Harbour has an ambulance service? Because 42 years ago, it was BPW members that lobbied the government to actually get an ambulance service in Coffs Harbour. You can find out something that has happened in your area through a BPW member. That's one of the little pitches of saying, become a BPW member, because we do make a difference.
BPW Parramatta was integral in getting death duties abolished through Chris Rack, and because of the work that she did in advocacy around that, and also really getting the fight for female apprentices. BPW also fought and contributed to the case for our lovely Deborah Ansett pilot. But that was years ago, and I believe we're working with the same issues, and so we have to create our new policy histories and advocacy histories, and I think that Angela is doing a fantastic job in that area. We've been lucky to have Angela in that role.
BPW does endorse and support the SDGs. The SDGs to some extent are our why, so I'm going to challenge you to think outside the box.
write up the article and you send it in with the photographs. You find out how many words they want. They usually don't want more than 250 to 300 words. And you promote your club.
What do you think has been the success of clubs that have been around a long time?
The ones that are involved in the community are the ones that are the most successful. So that in small communities where BPW is very visible.
Clubs that are successful, one, by making sure that you involve every member there in some way, shape or form. And the other thing is purpose. And at the beginning of each year, it is really a good idea to have a strategic session. In order to keep people, you have to stick to one or two different reasons for your being there and for projects that you're wanting to be involved in.
I asked a young server if she would ever want to join an organization like BPW on the force of what she'd heard over the course of the day. Unfortunately, this was filmed on someone else's phone and the soundtrack was inaudible, so I'll have to relay what she said. She was a third-year psychology student at the University of Newcastle. She said that she thought that BPW was something that she couldn't be a part of because it would take decades to be eligible, and that she would already need to be successful in order to join. She expressed that she would love to be around women ahead of her that would inspire and challenge her. Needless to say, we connected her with the president of BPW Newcastle.